I remember back when Trump were running for president, there was an expose in this magazine that showed like a room, like his living room in his penthouse in that Trump Tower. And it's like a temple of Apollo. You can go and have a look at it. It's like, you can go and have a look at Trump's apartment. It's like he's got the nicest apartment in like the world in that Trump Tower. And it's all done out in gold. And it's all got very, very, very deliberate, like messianic symbolism all over it. And it's like, it's Temple of Apollo. And these people who picked up on this, they're on mystic type, new agey type, but they're like leftist new age types, which is a thing, you know. That bias it doesn't come away. It doesn't put them over and above their basic biases. And they were right, they're picking it out. They're saying, yeah, this is like an occult gold mine. It's like, wow, it's like this is like a picture of symbolism, and they associate that symbolism with evil just based on their biases, based on that inbuilt hate. They believe themselves as like fighting a war against good and evil, and it's like, no, you don't understand the symbolism. It's like, if you understood the symbolism, you'd turn your house into a temple of Apollo as well, because by that stage of the game, you would have fucking made it somewhere. And it has to be said, Mr. Trump has done very well for himself, hasn't he, before he became this hate figure. He knows things. So it's like, so I see this and it's a matter, well, you don't do that as a whim. That's not a style choice. It's like, you know a thing or two, sir. It's like, you understand people, don't you? And there'd be a thing about Trump that's a massive feature, that's something that I've learned about, in that I don't normally drink. I won't say that I don't drink, but I'll only have a drink maybe twice a year, and then only 4 or 5 pints probably. So it's a matter of that. It's like these people who are habitually forever drinking, it's like you can always detect it on them. Like smokers. You know, like smokers, when they give up smoking, they've suddenly got a real nose for it. If you give up drinking, you get this flair for it, and it's a matter of, I can pick up on this. And he's got that going on as to where he's noticed enough watching, and then also owning casinos, not being a drunk, taking money from people who are out of control, degenerates, but would never admit to being, and nor would it ever be suggested that that's what they were. But the guy who owns the casino fucking knows, doesn't he? So it all points to Trump being something other than what these guys think he is. And it's like, there's a reason why they hate him as much as they hate him. Why? They think he's an antichrist figure, or they think he's some kind of false messiah. And it'd be a funny one the other day when I was looking at looking at the Sam Harris thing. Sam Harris, for a man who's an atheist, seems to me to be enthralled in the notion of that the world could be taken over by like an antichrist figure or messiah, and that's what he resists. It's like, I don't think there's a more religious virtue than that. And all that mind reading he's doing. Didn't it? They took them pictures, didn't they, of Biden, where he deliberately dressed up the set to give a message of power and authority, backed by force, because that's what he did. I mean, that's why the Nazis made things look like that. That's what it does. It's like, you can't put red like that without people seeing blood running down the walls one way or another. It's like, shit, animals would understand that symbolism. Bloodletting, like rivers of blood. It's like, it's very Obama. That Obama used to be all about that. It's like the Obama symbol, which was like the Obama O symbol was actually a remake or a redo of the global communist symbol. I can put the two next to each other. I've done it before and showed it. It's like, this is the old dawn of a new day movement. What? See, it wasn't me who spotted it. It was a guy called Jordan Maxwell who spotted it. When he spotted that, it's like he suddenly came to realise and put it out that all along, in his entire career of chasing down the people behind the scenes that he'd fucking done himself in, and he suddenly understood that his enemy was the communists and the left. He didn't realise that. He didn't realise how his enemies were operating in plain sight. He just knew that they were operating in plain sight. He couldn't identify anyone who the so-called enemy was. And then suddenly he did recognise who his enemy was. And it's like, this is global communism. Before then, he were talking about Teutonic Knights, brotherhoods. And then Michael Tsarian, what was he called? He had an insight. He was a guy claimed to be a mystic. He was a thinker. He was an out loud thinker. He was kind of like myself, but he come at it from a different angle. And he was someone who was sensationalised to make lots of money, because if you catastrophise and sensationalise, afraid people who would like to know something about things they don't know, you can tell them anything. But he worked out that if there was a brotherhood that was working behind the scenes and controlling everything, it couldn't exist without a sisterhood. What? And it's like, yeah, the women are a better place to do more fucking damage as a collective than any brotherhood of men would be, based on women having the power to decide what's socially acceptable, and that being a sort of almost a natural, inbuilt, mum knows best kind of setup as to something we've all got in common is we all dropped out of a vagina. So he gets that. He says, you're looking for a sisterhood of doom, not a brotherhood. You're looking for a sisterhood of doom. And then he suddenly disappeared off the face of the earth, off from the face of the internet. Having worked out as to where, if you check all this symbolism out as to where it has the good and the bad, you've got the representative of the good and the evil, it's like, well, it's not necessarily that, it's just sides. And it's pragmatic. It's a system, it's sides, it's man and woman, it's good and bad, it's left and right, it's east and west. So it's like, this isn't a judgment as to what is good, what is bad, this is a judgment of what is. It's like to apply good and evil to it is to lose its meaning, and you'll learn fucking nothing. You'll not watch, you'll not observe, and you'll never learn how to judge until you can take away the good and the bad from the structure and understand that that's what you bring, that's what you can do. You can judge for yourself, no one can stop you. So as this guy started moving towards that side of it, as to where he's worked out that this nonsense that the New Age women about the divine feminine, it's like, the divine feminine likely would be Jezebel. What? Yeah, a force of nature, a seductive destroyer, much like Medusa, a force of pure chaos, malevolence, and evil. What? Yeah, that would be your divine feminine. It's like, your feminines are all gods of chaos, the destroyers, all of them. It's like, you sold two. They sell two different archetypes for women as to what they call divine. One is one that does whatever she wants and is powerful and is basically the whore of Babylon. And the other one is an Athena-esque defender of the innocent, like the Virgin Queen. But she stops being the Virgin Queen at a certain stage. So that's like, this is an archetype of a god. It is like a person trapped in time. Be something like to forever be that Wonder Woman who like never gets the guy. The Virgin Queen warrior. much like a Brienne of Tarth. So it's like these divine feminines, they don't understand what the divine feminine is, but they understand what the divine masculine is. What? Yeah, oh yeah, they get that. They're trying to kill that. What? Well, I didn't start this, Biden did. He declared this public fucking announcement where he's talking about the war for the soul of America, and it's like funny old thing, the soul of America, if you want to start using like that, because it's the soul of man. It's like the guys who invented America had been plotting to do something like that for a very long time. They just hadn't found the place to do it. And when they knew, they'd even decided that America was going to be called America when they found it. Before the place had been discovered, there'd been people speaking of America. And when they found it, so what did they call it? America. They named it America. So it's like, oh, the soul of man, and there's the soul of America. Well, I'm like, well, the soul of man is the soul of America. It's like, why? It's like, because the best of us, the enlightened, those who discovered the soul of man, they founded that country and wrote its rules. What? Yeah. It's like the spirit of the founding fathers. That's real. And it's like, you don't understand what fucking men are, and you've set a world about stopping men from being men. Because the divine masculine is going to fucking kick your ass up and down the town. In fact, you run from him when you knew he was coming. What? Hippie Jesus, my ass. It's like what you've got coming is you've got what they would call a straight shooter. What? Someone who tells the truth all the time about everything and casts judgment, separates the wheat from the chaff. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. Donald Trump. Separating the wheat from the chaff, the judge. Runs all these organisations really well. Why? Because he's really good at selecting people to work for him. Why is that then? Because he understands what's valuable. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. Made him one of the biggest sort of reality TV stars in the history of broadcasting, with a product that if you found yourself watching, see, we got the English Apprentice, they wouldn't let us watch the American Apprentice, but I've been abroad, so I've seen the American Apprentice abroad and been sat and glued to it and thinking, this Trump guy, a bit of a clown, isn't he? This is 10 years ago and longer. A bit of a clown, isn't he? And then he gets in that conference room and he's absolutely pragmatic. Serious. Serious as all hell. And he'd be like, why is this show so magnetic with the fates and the decision and the guy who makes these tough calls? But I always give you his reasons as to why. So it's like, this is like a unique storytelling vehicle that they found, The Apprentice. And even better than that, it's like it even gives him access to talent. A lot of people who come through that process end up working for the Trump organization, and it's like, up until he decided he was going to be a politician, it's like that seems to have been a good move. The Trump organization be one of the best organizations in the world to work for, one of the best employers to work for. Be consistently work for these guys will look after you, you'll make plenty of money working for these guys. So when this dude who's got his own TV show, he's got all these millions of viewers, and he sits there and he judges and he separates the wheat from the chaff, and then he decides he's going to run for president, they're like, hell fucking no. Remember when they used to have that Celebrity Apprentice? Where they used to get fucking half-wit celebrities from everywhere deciding to go on The Apprentice and like do the business thing. And it was compelling, and a lot of people were frightened of Trump. Frightened of facing him. Frightened of going in there telling him they failed as to what he might say. They were frightened of Trump. And it's like he's really, really, really powerful. And it's like, why is he really powerful? It's because he's so good at calling it down the middle. He's such a good judge. They decided long ago he was something too dangerous to be allowed to be in charge. Too dangerous to be allowed. Why? Because he's the Antichrist, baby. What? Yeah, he's come to separate the wheat from the chaff. That he's been doing it in front of us for years on television, and it's like he's built up this really big organisation that's fundamentally based on talent, his talent and the talent of those around him. So we can't live with this guy. It's like if we, the Democratic Party, the media, if we think we're smart, it's like smart people go working for Donald Trump and go to Wall Street, go working for the big corporations and the banks. That's where the smart people go. Not the fucking media. So we can't compete with this guy. So we have to make sure that there's never a fair fight. Ever. There can never be a fair fight. Why? Because we can never win a fair fight against this guy. Why? Because he knows about the spirit. He's the judge. So I'm saying, right, okay, so what you've had here is you've had a prophet pop up. Things like that have happened in history. A prophet, Moses, a lawgiver. You've got more than one. There's potentially, my mind, there's half a dozen lawgivers. They just don't, they know they are, but they just don't accept it. It's like the prophets, it's like, yeah, there's prophets now. And it's like, what are these guys about? It's like, well, they're destroyers. What? Yeah, destroyers. It's like anything that's not acceptable is going to be gone. You're fired. That's what the soul of man looks like. And it's like the soul of America. You see, yeah, but it's the same thing. It's like they understood this. They were guys who were close to God. They understood the boss. So it's like where I have this thing, so I have a relationship with the Almighty as to where I said to people, you guys just don't understand God's sense of humour. If you did, we wouldn't be in all this trouble and be telling the truth. And those guys, they all get that eternal joke as well, as to say, fuck me, you have got some sense of humour about you as over the way things turn out. It's like, there's no one funnier than you, Almighty. It's like, you have got jokes. And I never expected that it'd turn out like that. But I tell you what, now that it does, it kind of makes sense. It's like beyond my wisdom, but you see the way that it happened. You can see how it might go that way. We just missed it, didn't we? Well, God got it. God saw it coming. God had already sort of given the lowdown to his more unwitting servants. So where you get a guy like Bill Burr, he'd just be mouthing off and he'd just say it. You said the loud part. You said the quiet part out loud. So with that, Sam Harris, right, he's detached. Right, I'm sat watching Sam Harris, right, and I'm giggling like and it be the part of God that's in Sam Harris, right, is doing this to him. Go on, Sam. Go on. Go on, Sam. Give him, Sam. And it's like, go on. It's like, there's no devil. What? There's just God. There's just the Almighty. There's just God. There's no devil. There's no duality. There's just, and it's like you don't understand the sense of humour. It's like Trump does. Trump understands the sense of humour. Tell you who doesn't. Biden. Why? Well, he got to talking, claiming the high ground, saying we're fighting a war for the soul. And he's a control freaky old slaver stood there, and people cracking on saying, you know, I think he might have something like multiple personality disorder. I'm like, nah, he just gets rushes of blood and adrenaline. Mood swings. So it's like you go from angry to melancholy in like 30 seconds and sort of talk his way up or talk his way down. It's like, yeah, that's someone who's angry with God because God's not doing what he wants him to. Basically, he's annoyed that the world isn't stopping and starting at his command, and annoyed that people don't see the world the way that he does, because that's the way you should. And in being not a mouthpiece for himself and his own will, he's a mouthpiece for his ostensible movement. As long as there's a notion of this imaginary movement, because it's real, he can put out a dog whistle like that and understand that there are those in the world who'd like an excuse to bully people if they thought they could get away with it. And he did his best to set them on the Conservatives and Republicans and Trump supporters and people who just aren't down with that gay shit. He just, from the mouth of the president, gave them the green light to start to pick on them and bully and target and hunt and stalk in the way that they operate anyway. He just gave them the green light to take it further. In taking the high ground, behaving the way that he's done, fucking telling the lies that he's told, projecting symbolism like darkness and blood running down the walls, backed by the force of the state, making threats as the government accusing the opposition and the public of being fascists. Have you ever heard of that before? Well, last time it was Paul that the fascist Jews, weren't they? He's just like created a new distinction, created a new label, affixed it, and made certain people acceptable targets for abuse. And shit tested his audience. The more radical, the more who are with him in hating the MAGA horrible right-wing fascist white supremacists, they all double down. They all see it as a green light. And then all the moderates join the opposition. All the moderates amongst his own people, all the ones who say, well, I don't go along with this. Oh, well, you've just joined the white supremacists. So he's shit tested. He has thrown down as to say, it's my way or the highway. And did it in casting a blow in a so-called war for the soul of America. You see, that won't go unnoticed. That won't go unpunished. It's like you're starting to, right? The thing is, right, war, right, in this day and age would be a terrible thing because it'd take place on the internet, right? And it'd take place with people turning up and killing each other, in finding each other in real life, and either making friends or killing each other or the like, or threats made, or more and more of this swatting, more and more of this. And the thing is, they just tell the cops what the cops have been told to look out for, and they blame you of all those things, and all of a sudden it's like, we're seizing your computers, and then for someone to get the computer seized be like the surefire way of getting them thrown in jail, or else just fucking their lives up. Whether there's anything on there they're going to get busted for or not, it's like, you just took all my shit. That kind of thing break out, and it's like, there's only one side, ostensibly, that operates like that. Right? Now, when that then becomes as to where the ostensible one side that actually holds really the high ground, they're not ostensibly the good side either. Now, if they start to use the tactics of their opponents on their opponents, what's likely to happen then? If the green light is given that the world of sort of magic can be deployed on the left, which is to say, everybody lies all the time from now on, deliberately. If it's war, why don't we all just lie? Why don't we just pick up the weapons that are being left behind? Why don't we just pick up the weapons that have been left lying around and use them? And we'll begin to endlessly lie and completely fabricate believable stories about the evil demons of the left. Those at war with themselves. I'm saying we've got an inside man who's willing to help us and is desperate to get the maximum number of giggles possible out of weighing these fuckers in. It's like the Almighty is on side because the Almighty sees that the Almighty has been tricked in every single one of these broken souls. Tricked as to where not all of them are guilty. Not all of them are being punished because they're cunts. Some are just being punished because other people like to punish. And it's like the saving of souls. Now that is the greatest of preoccupations. If possible, should be pursued. There are those who are guilty and there are all those who are innocent and all banged up in the same hell. And loads of them need to be saved. And when it's like need to be saved, it will need to be saved from what? Need to be saved from people like them. It's like we've got some fucked up vampiric fucking sexual predator fucking cult that appears to have everyone's number, has the goods on everybody. It's like all these fucking people over the period course of their life have got themselves involved in all kinds of different entanglements, and then it's a matter of the blackmail goods amongst those who do kiss and tell. Makes it so people have been silent for years, and in silent, complicit, and in complicit, blinded. In being blinded, being then eventually consumed. As to where that's where that Sam Harris, it's like the malignancy of like the sickness of the soul. It's taken years to completely hollow him out. It's taken years, hasn't it? taken years to finish him off. You see him come back, you know. The number of people in the internet era who've been one thing and then come back and become something else and actually transformed into something better in every incarnation. The best one, you know, to watch, because anything's possible next time. Brand. A simple, drug addicted, a talented, simple, drug addict narcissist blessed with high intelligence. What happens is with the narc like him, because, sorry, right, I was a narc like him, is eventually the final construct is so solid. The final time you tell the story, the final time you put together what the world is, it never changes again. It's like you create a merge, a merged, where it's like the super ego or the ego would merge with the soul. And then it'd be 80% perfect, and then something come along and smash it, gone again. Fall off the wagon. Rebuild it again from what you've learned from the bottom. Go back to hell to learn a few more tricks. Come back. 90% version. Oh, 90% version. 90% version almost spot on. You never get to the 100% version. You get to like 91, 92, 90, and then it'd be like warp speed. It'd be like 9.1, 9.2, 9.3. Like up and up and up and up and up. I reckon there's certain levels of understanding that you can't get to in knowing God. There's certain understandings you can't get to. It's like, who's got the edge? The guy like myself who's childless, not married, like a priest, clergy method, right, of finding wisdom. In more or less that kind of isolation. Lack of those kind of connections or bonds be a path to wisdom, but also there be a path to wisdom with the guy who's got the 5 kids, because he's getting it, the innocence reflected back at him, isn't it, when he talks to his kids? And then he, in his way, if he learns, if he's smart, he then gets to remember what it was to be a child, and it opened up the whole fucking world. But then there are those of us who remember what it was to be a child, having grown up outside that system. Because you have to really, you know, it's a big one. If you can't remember what it was to be the boy you were, it's because you were still the boy you were, and you haven't fucking changed. It's like those who haven't got it in them to say, it's an important thing to protect the children. And it not be some kind of, you know, creepy thing as to where people like to be around kids. No. Kids, and the kids would do well to, in their lifetime, someone like me, it'd be a matter of, this is Mr. Collins. Good morning, children. Good morning, Mr. Collins. And that'll be it. Gone. Let those who teach the kids. But that doesn't mean that they're not the ones who should be protected. Their innocence should be protected. at all costs even. It's like that's the most important thing we've got. We're humans. It's like there's no meaning without us. Have you seen how that COVID has given the kids an excuse? It's fucked them over legitimately and given them all a legitimate excuse for the rest of their fucking lives. And it's an excuse that nobody else has got, is it? Well, school was disrupted because of COVID. And it's like, well, there's no COVID exam results this time, so the exam figures are down, obviously. You know, the results have taken a marked dip because they're not guessing what they were going to be anymore, giving everyone the benefit of the doubt, you know. How many people were on that borderline between whether they passed or failed their exams? And there'd be try-hards. You know, there'd be people struggle, got their own problems, but it'd be a matter of if they do well on the day, they're going to get a C. If they fuck it up or don't turn up, they're going to get a D or an E. How many people were on that? How many people fucking live there? How many people live on that borderline of pass-fail? And it's like, well, everybody who were here went like that, passed. Everyone got the benefit of the doubt who were just short of being good enough. And it's like, oh, well, okay, that's really going to help them, isn't it? What if they've allowed people who really ought to have been failed at school and they've allowed them to step forward? And it's like, you might be encouraging or dragging someone into a life of academia even when... no, they've got no aptitude for it. They're not good enough. Ain't it a thing that where people these days, I'll get it fucking put to me so often as to where, oh, you think you're smart, my daughter's got a university degree. My daughter. It's the people who can run that by you. And there's things that always spring to mind with me, things I heard when I was a lad. And I was a lad who... I wouldn't be so easily bullied by women when I was like 17 or 18. Not easily bullied, because I lived with sisters my whole life. Been to school with loads of them. And when I was working in that garage, and that woman turned up with a little Subaru like Justy, and its brakes were squealing. And she says, when I put my pedal down, it's like grinding and screaming. All right, okay. So we took her wheels off, and a fucking brake disc had just corroded through. It was just, whoa. And the whole lot's knackered. It's like, so you need, the lines are all right, the fittings are all right, but you need every other part. So she were looking at, now it'd probably cost you a couple of grand to get that done, but then she were looking at a bill of about 450 quid plus that, something. Big bill. She wasn't expecting a big bill. She turned up, right? I rang her up to tell her what was wrong. And she said, right, I'm on my way down. And she turned up and she brought this friend with her, this fat woman. And she says, her boyfriend is a mechanic. And she says they only needed oiling. You're trying to rip me off. I'm only a kid, I'm only 17 or something when I'm hearing this. And these women in their 20s. And she actually brought a friend of hers whose boyfriend was a mechanic to tell me that we're wrong and that they only needed oiling because they were squealing. Like bikes on a brake. So I said, "1 minute." And I goes to the back. And we've had, we've taken the thing apart. We've not actually got the bits yet, but we've taken the thing apart and we've stripped it. So there's a big cardboard box there of what's left of her fucking pads and discs. So I just said to Jess, is this the box of bits from that car? Yep. Walks in there, and I'm like, here's your brakes. Rusted through, rotten, smashed, worn to death, rusted, fucked. Here's your brake discs. And she says, how do I know that they're mine? And I said, come with me. And I walked her through the showroom and opened the big workshop door, and showed her a car in the air. And she said, is that my car though, Emma? And then she's like, right, okay. Well, go ahead with the work. And 4 hours later, she came and picked up a car, paid with a credit card, didn't say a word. She was only off the road for half a day, or a day, and the work was done. But it's like, you couldn't tell her anything. But we could show her, and show her, and eventually the penny would drop, and it's like, yeah, there are people like that. And she was swinging the lead. She was trying to get away with anything, and it's a matter of, look, you might be able to get away with anything in the world with this game, but there's no getting past what the world's going to do to your car. You can't blag your way out of that. You can't bully your way out of that. And there's no way of escaping from it. The penny drops, you fucking pay. There's a story to come up that's a telling one, isn't it? Because the real world is going to smash people in the face. There's something that you got to know, you know. There's a fallacy, a thing that people say. And it's these fanatics, these radicals, political terrorists, Extinction Rebellion, LGBT, BLM activists, never stop. And people say, well, when their electric bills triple, and the cost of living increases, and the car repayments increase, and the cost of fuel increases, and electricity, everything, they'll have something real to worry about. And maybe they'll put themselves to good use. And it's like, are you kidding? It's like, no, they'll double down on their ideology. The real world does not wake up fanatics. It makes them double down, because they will take what the world is and say, look, if only you'd listened to me sooner, I could have sorted all this out for you. As we speak, the very, very organised, well-organised green movement are going through the motions of hijacking any political movement or any movement at all that emerges in this country over the cost of living. It's being hijacked by the left as we speak. It's being worked into the plan from the start by Extinction Rebellion that eventually, when people's fuel bills get massive, they'll join our cause, and our cause is, if only you'd have listened to us sooner. It's like the real world is not going to slow down these fanatics. The real world is going to validate them about how brilliant they are in the face of disaster. If only you'd have listened to us. That's the next move. And then the conservative be then lumped in with the climate change denier. Well, you're just anti-science. You're like some kind of witch. Because that's what it all points to, doesn't it? You know, the man who isn't sensitive to the feelings of others isn't evil, man. The devil. You say things that hurt my feelings because you shouldn't be able to say that. You can't say that. How often is that said when someone says something? You can't say that. It's like, I've had it said to me a few times, but saying that, you know, I've been, you know, out of employment for... You can't say that. I'm going to say it again. Excuse me. No, you're being flippant. Yes, but you're being stupid. So it's like when you're being stupid, the right response to me is to either be flippant or dismissive. Idiots.